Shri Maharani Ki Jai. Now let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. But as all the group is just as
Oh, can I get a songbook, please? Can I get a songbook? Songbook. Okay. Thank you. Disappearance. Yes. Oh. The page must have come out. It's on my to-do list to get new songbooks printed. So this should be the last page in the songbook. Saparshada Gora Viraha Vilapa. So today's the disappearance day of Vikeshwara Pandit. And if I could get a cup of water, that would be really nice. Yayanilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Jasa Raghunata Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bata Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Thank you. Eka Kale Kota Gela Gora Nataraj pasane kutibo mata, anale pasibo. Goranga gunera nidhi kota gele pabo. Se saba sangira sange ye koilo bilas. Se sangana paya kande narotamodas. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who is filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivrajikacharya, Asatara Satyashi Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai. Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dhamma Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Paskachade Satarane. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakalpachubhischa Kripasindhavya Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So it's June 19th, 2026, in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina. It's the disappearance day of Vikeshwara Pandit. So we'll speak a little bit about him, and then we'll go on to verse 1075-36. One time in the house of Srivas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya sang while Vikeshwara Pandit danced in constant ecstasy for 72 hours. That's a long time. We think we go to these Arangetrams, where they're dancing for like 5 hours. 72 hours. At that time, Lord Chaitanya said, Vikeshwar, I have only one wing like you, but if I had another, certainly I could fly in the sky. And Vikeshwara Pandit would serve in the Navadvip Sankirtan parties, the dramas at Srivas Angam, and the yearly Rath Yatra at Jagannath Puri. And he both stayed with the Lord at Navadvip and at Jagannath Puri. Devananda Pandit had offended Srivas Thakur. When Devananda Pandit was speaking on the Bhagavatam, Srivas Thakur was displaying ecstatic symptoms, and some of the other people listening, they became disturbed at this, and they threw Srivas Thakur out, and Devananda Pandit did not object. And for this, he lost all of his taste in the Bhagavatam. But later, by serving Vikeshwara Pandit, he regained his taste, and Mahaprabhu blessed him. In the Gauraganadesh Deepika, it says that Vikeshwara Pandit is an incarnation of the Aniruddha of the Chaturvyuha, that he's Vishnu Tattva. But his grand disciple, Dhanachandra Goswami, says that Vikeshwara Pandit is the personality Tanga Vidya in Krishna Lila. So just putting that out there, and you can choose whatever you like. A very important thing about Vikeshwara Pandit is that he was one of two people instructed in the science of the practice of spontaneous devotion, Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, by Swarup Damodar. And according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vikeshwara Pandit was instructed in what Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls the external path, whereas Raghunath Das Goswami was instructed in the internal path. Vikeshwara Pandit had a disciple who then had a disciple. So he had a disciple, Gopal Gaura Goswami, and then he had a disciple, Dhanachandra Goswami. Dhanachandra Goswami compiled the book, Gaur Govinda Smaranam Archana Padati, which describes how to practice what, again, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur designated in Jaiva Dharma as the external path of Raganuga sadhana. Generally, what I have found in our Hare Krishna movement is when devotees think about what is Raganuga sadhana, they identify the practice of Raganuga sadhana with the process given to Vikeshwara Pandit and delineated by his grand disciple Dhanachandra Goswami. However, that particular path, although bona fide, given by Swarup Damodar, accepted by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was not used by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because that path can be easily imitated. Because it involves a lot of external activities, certain mantras you chant, certain meditations you do, it can be imitated, it can be cheapened. That path requires a very, very qualified guru who's right there training you very personally. And there's nothing in that description in that book about internal changes. It's very, in order to follow that path, you're highly dependent on a guide to be right there guiding you. There was another path taught by Swarup Damodar, which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls the internal path, which was given to Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, which he delineated in his book Srimana Shiksha, which is 12 verses, which on the urging of my dear friend Srimati and Sachinandan Maharaj, we arranged for a translation of the book and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentaries, and we also have commentaries of contemporary Vaishnavas. And there we wrote extensively, we did extensive research into Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's take on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And there we established that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati most definitely taught the path of spontaneous devotion. If he didn't, he wouldn't be following the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said he came to the world to give Rag Marg. And if you see the logo that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati personally designed for the Gaudiya Math, you see half of it is Vidhi Bhakti and half of it is Rag Bhakti. And under Rag Bhakti, he puts Kirtan and book distribution. And on Vidhi Bhakti, he puts deity worship. But the path that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati favored was that given to Raghunath Das Goswami. And so his disciple, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, following in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's footsteps, also promoted this, what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur called the inner path of spontaneous devotion. So on the inner path, it's much more, one externally behaves as a Vaidhi sadhaka, and internally one is going through purification of anarthas and meditation on the Lord. So both of these paths are bona fide. They're both given by Swarup Damodar. Vikeshwara Pandit is either Aniruddha or Tanga Vidya, as you like, whoever authority you want to accept. And the book given by Dhanachandra Goswami is a bona fide book. However, because of various circumstances, we are favoring the internal path given by Raghunath Das Goswami. We've written a whole chapter on this at the great pushing of our godbrother Deva Mitra Maharaj in our publication of Srimana Shiksha, if you want to go into this more deeply. You can find the temple of Vikeshwar Pandit dedicated to his deities at Radhakund, right near our ISKCON Gopal Mandir, practically right across the street. So I'm going to go on to today's verse. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 75, Text 36. Tatra Duryodhano Mani Parito Bratibir Nripa Kirita Malinya Vishad Asi Hasta Kshipanusa. Please chant. Paricho Pratibir Nipa Kirita Malinya Vishad Asti Hasta Kshipanrusha Tatra Duryodhano Mani Parito Pratibir Nipa Kirita Malinya Vishad Asti Hasta Kshipanrusha Tatra Duryodhano Mani Parito Pratibir Nipa Kirita Malinya Vishad Asi Hasta Kshipanrusha Tatra Duryodhano Mani Pratibir Nipa Kirita Malinya Vishad Asi Hasta Kshipanrusha Tatra there Duryodhana Mani proud Paritaha surrounded Bratya Bhi by his brothers Nripa O king Kirita wearing a crown Mali and a necklace Navishat entered Asi a sword Hasta in his hand Kshipan insulting the doorkeepers Rusha angrily. So this is again at the Rajasuya Yagya, and the question was asked, why was Duryodhana not happy? So and now Sukadeva Goswami is describing, everyone else is happy, everyone's satisfied except for him. BBT translation, proud Duryodhana, holding a sword in his hand and wearing a crown and necklace, angrily went into the palace in the company of his brothers, O king, insulting the doorkeepers as he entered. The purport is just quoting from Krishna book. I'd actually like, instead of reading that, to just quote the whole section from Krishna book. It's a little longer than was put in the BBT purport. When he was sitting on the throne, surrounded by his friends, and the reciters were offering prayers to him in the form of nice songs, that when Maharaj Yudhisthira was sitting on the throne, Duryodhana came to the palace with his younger brothers. Duryodhana was decorated with a helmet, and he carried a sword in his hand. He was always in an envious and angry mood, and therefore, on a slight provocation, he spoke sharply with the doorkeepers and became angry. I'm going to read the commentary of Srila Sanatana Goswami. In that hall, thinking he would be praised for wearing his crown and necklace so he could display his own wealth, out of pride, Mani, thinking they were very valuable, he entered the hall. So he's entering the hall thinking, everyone's going to praise my crown and necklace. To show his valor, he held a sword in his hand. So my opulence and my valor, right? To show his support, he came surrounded by his brothers. So 3 things he was showing off. He was showing off his wealth in the form of his what? His crown and necklace. He was showing his heroism in the form of his sword and his support in the form of his brothers. All right. Proud and angry, shouting abusive words. You ever met anybody like this? He entered without any respect. Ni avishat. O king. So Nripa is speaking to the king, to Pariksit. Sanatana Goswami says, this indicates, quote, kings will become proud like this. So it's a little dig even at Pariksit. Giving up going on the regular path because of fear of the guards, but not knowing the presence of water because of his deep envy, he began wandering here and there to see the splendor of the hall as described in the Mahabharata. Not understanding the hall's nature, he lifted his cloth to avoid the water. So there was a place where there was no water, but it looked like water. And he picked up his cloth to avoid going in the water, but there was no water. He then fell into the water. So then there was a place that was water, but didn't look like water. And his crown fell off. By falling into the water, he became ashamed. So he started out with pride and anger. He ended up with shame. Tatra Duryodhano mani paritro bhratibhir nipa kirita malina vishad asti hasta kshipan rusha. Proud Duryodhana, holding a sword in his hand and wearing a crown and necklace, angrily went into the palace in the company of his brothers. O king, insulting the doorkeepers as he entered. So he didn't become angry after he got in. He was already angry. He started off that way. So one of the main questions that we get all the time, actually just got another message like that today. I was doing so well meditating on my japa, and now my japa has become mechanical. I was doing, I can't be steady. This is one of the main questions that we get. How do I become steady? We'll feel enthusiasm in bhakti, and then we feel dry in bhakti. And it goes up and down. This is called anista sadhana bhakti, not steady sadhana bhakti. So I don't know if any of you will like the answer to this. How do we become steady? The answer is given actually by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's giving it indirectly. Sanatana Goswami gives it directly in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is equating the verses of the Shikshashtaka to the progress of bhakti in his Bhajana Rahasya. So he equates the words of the Mahamantra in 2 couplets each, 8 couplets, to the verses of the Shikshashtaka, to Krishna's 8-fold daily pastimes, and to the progress of bhakti. And he equates to steadiness which verse of the Shikshashtaka? Trinadapi sunichena taror api sahishuna manidena kirtaniya siddhahari. Right? We have this amanina. And here we have in today's verse money. So if you want to become steady, you have to become humble. Nobody likes this answer. It's not if you want to become steady, you have to do some kind of mechanical trick. Chant more japa, go sit at the bank of Radhakund. No, you want to become steady, you have to become humble. There's no alternative to that. And if you can do everything without becoming humble, you'll never be steady in bhakti. It just isn't going to work. So we're going to look at some evidences. Are we actually humble? And then we're going to look at what we can do to work on humility. So we're going to look at 2 kinds of evidence. So amanina versus mani. The amanina of the Shikshashtaka verse to the money of Duryodhana. The manadena of the Shikshashtaka verse versus the kshipan rusha of today's verse. And then we're going to look at the process which is given in Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Api Sahishnuna. That is actually the process to attain it. So let's just compare amanina versus money. So humility versus pride. So what is humility? Often we think humility is lying, which I think is quite interesting, because devotees are called sata or satyam, truthful. Krishna is the absolute truth. So how can humility be lying? Like our god brother Ambarish is very wealthy, and if he comes and says, oh, actually I'm a very poor man, I don't have any money, it's nonsense. It's just not true. So humility is honesty. Honesty is whatever I have actually belongs to Krishna. If Ambarish says, yes, this money is all Krishna's, I'm just the steward of it temporarily, that's honest. If he says, I'm poor, that's dishonest. Do you understand the difference? If a Purva Prabhu says, I'm a terrible cook, that's not humility. If he says, my cooking ability is given by Krishna, that's honesty. Everybody understand? It's a very simple thing. Everything I have is given by Krishna. How do we know it's given by Krishna? He can take it away whenever he wants. He doesn't have to give notice. Like according to the law in America, if you rent a place, the landlord has to give you notice. They can't just evict you. They can't just say, okay, get out. But Krishna doesn't even have to give you notice. He can take away anything at any time. Like about a year ago, I broke my right hand. I couldn't use my hand. You know, in an instant. It can be like that. One can lose one's intelligence, and have a stroke, an accident. Right? We'll just speak of everything taken away. A person can have a lot of money and their investments crash, and then they have nothing. Their house burns down. Whatever we have is on loan from Krishna. It's not mine. That's honesty. And the evidence of that honesty is we use what we have in Krishna's service. If I say, yes, it belongs to Krishna, but I'm going to do with it whatever I want, that's not honesty. Right? Honesty is it belongs to Krishna. Let me use it in a way that will make him happy. And then gratitude. Not Krishna's given me what I have because I'm so wonderful and I'm so qualified, but Krishna's given me what I have just out of kindness. It's like I have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I just had celebrated the birthday of a granddaughter, a grandson, and a son, and I gave them all presents. Why? Just because I love them. They didn't do something to deserve that. You follow? It wasn't, you have to do this with this, and then I'll send you a birthday present. So Krishna just loves us. He just loves us because we're part of him. Just like, you know, we take care, we were reading the other day, right, that the devotees love all of Krishna's parts and parcels equally, just like we care about our body equally. I take care of my hand because it's part of me. It doesn't have to do something to deserve that. So whatever Krishna's given me, whatever intelligence, whatever talents, whatever money, whatever beauty, whatever fame, whatever beautiful crowns and necklaces, whatever valor, whatever associates, Krishna's given me that just out of his kindness. And so always grateful, always grateful, always grateful, always grateful. The Panchatantra says that the only one who cannot be rectified is the ungrateful person. And we should be all the time. I mean, one thing, not having the use of my hand for some weeks, you know, I started looking at people just using their hands, and I'm thinking, they have no idea. And I thought of all the times I just did things with my hands without thinking about it. To be grateful I can walk, to be grateful I have hands, to be grateful I can see, to be grateful I can think, to be grateful I can digest food, to be grateful I can breathe, everything. And if one is in that mood, one is always happy. And one was always happy in both the good and the bad. This is also the measure of humility. That whatever happens is good. Prabhupada writes in the purport to Gita 15:15, God is all good, God is all merciful. Whatever happens to me, I can use my hand, I'm grateful. I break my hand, I'm still grateful. I'm like Krishna, you can give, you can take away. Whatever you do for me is for my good. Whatever you do for me is for my benefit, even if apparently difficult. Okay, though the opposite of this is pride. And Krishna talks about this a lot in what chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? 16th, right? And in 16:4 he says, Dambo. Dambo is pride. Dambo darpa bhimanascha kroda. We have also Duryodhana kroda. Parusyam evacha ajnanam chatijatasya partha sampada asurim. Pride, arrogance, conceit. 3 different ways of saying the same thing. Pride, arrogance, conceit. Anger, harshness. We see also here Duryodhana. Ignorance, demoniac nature. Prabhupada says in the purport, this is the royal road to hell. Always arrogant, proud, and possessing some type of education, so much wealth, desire to be worshipped, and demanding respect, although they don't command respect. Over trifles, they become very angry and speak harshly. Is he describing this verse today in the Bhagavatam? Some little trifle, and Duryodhana starts yelling at the guards. They don't know what should be done, should not be done. And they're dishonest. Humility is honesty, and pride is dishonesty. In the same chapter, verse 16, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the demoniac believes in their own strength, does not know whatever they're gaining is due to their past misdeeds. They're given opportunity to accumulate things, but no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his massive wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demoniac person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. Demoniac think all these things are accidental and due to the strength of his personal ability. So pride is, this is mine. I worked hard for it. I worked hard for my wealth. Hey, there's a lot of people working just as hard as you that are poor. It's not just hard work. It's all due to me, that dishonesty. And instead of gratitude, they have entitlement. I deserve whatever I get. I'm such a wonderful person. I'm such a good person. Therefore, they see others' opulence as a threat. Constantly greedy for more. And as Prabhupada says, demanding respect. And this is, again, this entitlement is the opposite of gratitude. Do I just expect that my spouse is going to clean the house for me, or my spouse is going to bring in the money, or my children are going to act? Do I just expect that people are going to treat me in a certain way? They have to. They're required to. I'm entitled to it. And instead of joy, they're always feeling angry. That nothing is ever enough, constantly frustrated. And it doesn't take much to set them off. Right? There's that analogy given Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I don't think he invented this, but I'd like to talk about this. He said, so if you're carrying a cup of orange juice and somebody bumps you and you spill the orange juice and you get the orange juice on your clothes, why did you get orange juice on your clothes? You can say, oh, someone bumped me, but the real reason is you're carrying orange juice. If you were carrying water, you would get water on your clothes. So when people bump us, what we spill is what's inside. If we easily get frustrated, if we easily get angry, if we have the sense of entitlement, then we don't have humility. And we were talking about the inner path of bhakti. Raghunath Das Goswami says, if you're following all the rules, you're preaching about Krishna, you're following all the rules, but you have this burning inside, then instead of actually being bathed in bhakti, you're being bathed in donkey urine and thinking you're getting clean. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments on that. You're charmed by this donkey urine bath. Right, where you're always burning, you're always, and one can disguise this as spirituality. I'm always angry about this righteous thing, and this righteous thing, and this righteous thing. I'm sure Duryodhana had a lot of excuses for his anger. So then we looked at Amanina versus Mani. Now that's a symptom. Now we're going to look at another evidence as Manadena versus Shipan Rusha. So first we're looking at how I feel, what's coming at me. Now we're going to look at what I'm putting out. So Yudhisthira is described as a Jatushatru. He didn't have an enemy. He didn't put out enmity, no matter how other people treated him. And as we read the other day in the Bhagavatam, he treated everyone with respect, and he knew how to treat everyone appropriately with respect. Interesting how he respected Dharma even when the other side is cheating. The whole gambling match was evidence of this, right? Yudhisthira's like, I have to respect Dharma. The king is telling me to do this gambling. Kshatriya can't refuse a challenge. I have to follow Dharma, even though they're cheating. And he was agonizing over the harm done to others just so he could win the war. He said, I've won at the cost of so many humans, so many animals, so much all for me. This is terrible. He didn't want to cause pain to every living entity. Now on the other side, Duryodhana, the Shipanrusha, anyone who doesn't serve him is an enemy. Yudhisthira doesn't see anyone as an enemy. And he's angry over everything, and he's angry over nothing. And he's always plotting harm to others so he can win by any means. He doesn't play fair. How do I cheat? How do I, poison my own cousins? How do I find some way to cheat? So we can look at ourselves. I mean, it's very easy to look at ourselves and say, oh, yes, 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 I'm very humble. But how do we respond? How do we respond when, as far as our own talents, our own abilities, the things that we get in life, or the misfortunes that we have in life, and how do we treat others? Now, of course, if we're very much in tamagun, then we're going to display these bad qualities very often and easily. If we're very much in rajagun, we'll display them more infrequently. We have to be really provoked. If we're very much in sattvagun, it will take a lot of provocation before we display these bad qualities. But if we have any identification with this body, with this world, or with our idea that ahankara vimudha makartaham iti manyati, that I am the doer, then at some level of provocation, we're going to kind of fall into the Duryodhana. Does this make sense to everybody? There'll be some level of threat at which we'll fall into the Duryodhana. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says something Radhanath Swami always likes to quote, that we can measure our advancement by how much we tolerate adverse circumstances. Toleration doesn't mean this. I'm furious, but I'm smiling. That's not what toleration means. Toleration means it doesn't really bother us. So that's actually a process. We often talk about not being offensive. I was just reading today in Nectar Devotion how Prabhupada was talking about how we gain all benefit by association with devotees and we lose our taste if we offend the devotees. And it was also interesting, he was saying that if somebody makes advancement very quickly in this life, you can tell that was advancement from a previous life that was probably hampered by an offense to a devotee. Interesting, huh? So we very much talk about not offending devotees, but there's something I think we don't talk about enough, and that's not feeling offended. Because that's the other part of the Shikshastika verse, right? Offering respects to others, but not expecting respect for ourselves, not being offended. Duryodhana is basically walking around in a constant state of feeling offended. He just feels the prosperity of the Pandavas is an offense to him. So first of all, unless I'm in a position of authority or guidance over somebody, it's not really my business what other people are doing. I don't need to evaluate. I need to evaluate people's spirituality in terms of choosing my association, because we're supposed to associate, we're supposed to make friends with those who are equal and serve those who are more advanced and help those who are less advanced. Of course, some people may be more advanced than me in some ways, and I may be more advanced than them in other ways. So maybe I can learn from them about some things and help them in other things. But that's a practical thing. It's not a judgment thing in a self-righteous way. Not that I'm standing as the judge and jury. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? That's the business of God. It's really not my business. And you know what? We're not really so much able to tell anyway. Even the residents of Vrindavan, they thought Putana was the goddess of fortune. Mother Yasoda, Mother Rohini, they misjudged Putana. The cowherd boys, they weren't able to ascertain that Vatsasura or Pralambasura was a demon. Vyomasura. And those are Krishna's eternal associates. And conversely, Gadadhar Pandit couldn't recognize that Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a great devotee. So we may misjudge. I don't have to go around being offended by other people's life choices. I really don't. It's not my business. Again, I have to choose who I want to associate with. But I don't have to have this mood of judgment that causes me to find other people's life choices to be offensive to myself. I really don't. That's not a principle of bhakti, to go around being offended and angry at what other people choose to do with their lives. There is Yamaraj, there is Krishna, and they take care of things. Now, if I'm somebody's teacher or somebody's parent, that's a different thing. I need to then guide people, those people. But it's actually an offense to be guiding people who are not your students. So the opposite of this feeling offended easily is forgiveness. Now, people think that forgiveness means that if someone does something criminal, there's no consequences. That's ridiculous. That's not what it means. If someone comes here and shoots the devotees, we don't just say, "Oh, I forgive you, it's okay." We should call the police, and we should have them go through the legal process. So that's not what it means. But it means an inner attitude. So basically, what I suggest as far as a process to go through for forgiveness, it's a 4-part process. The first is, am I really sure that somebody did something nasty to me? Am I really sure? Sometimes people think I did something nasty to them when I didn't. Does that ever happen to you, that people think you did something wrong and you didn't actually? Somebody else did it, or you did something they're misinterpreting what happened? Yes? Does that ever happen to you? I mean, I was visiting some people, and I took a walk, and they had given me a key, so I locked the door, and I didn't know that one of the family members had gone for a run without her key. And when she came back, she couldn't get in the house, and she accused me of intentionally locking her out of the house. These things happen, right? So it can go the other way, too. I can be sure that someone's trying to hurt me or offend me, and I can be wrong. So take the time to give them what we call due process. Hear their side of the story. Find out. Maybe you're wrong. The next thing is to remember that there's always Krishna. Mare Krishna, Rake Krishna, Marike. Krishna's ultimately protecting me, and if somebody apparently hurts me, Krishna must be allowing it for some reason. As Prabhupada writes in his purport to 12:13-14, a devotee is never disturbed, nor does he become the enemy of his enemy. He thinks this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds, so better to suffer than to protest. So there's the Krishna factor. Krishna's allowing what's going on for my good. And then to have the mood that this person's not my enemy. May they learn joyfully. Let's say I've determined this person's actually hurt me, they've tried to hurt me. I accept, okay, Krishna, you're the one protecting me. I don't have to protect myself through anger and arrogance. But let this person learn through joy. That was how Prahlad prayed for his father. Let him be liberated joyfully. He said, my father was offensive to you, Lord, and to me, but let him be liberated joyfully. And there's one Christian writer I like, Brand Hansen, and he talks about how one can pray for one's enemies. I really like what his points. He says, pray that God will give them peace. Pray that they'll be surrounded by people who know God. Pray that God will have mercy on them. And pray that God will heal your own anger towards them. I thought that was a really nice thing. And then the last thing that we should look at in forgiveness is, what am I supposed to learn from this? Why did Krishna allow this to happen to me? Maybe I'm also hurting other people without realizing it. Maybe I'm causing similar harm to others. Or maybe Krishna just wants me to develop more humility and more tolerance. There's some lesson here for me. So if we want to become steady in bhakti, we really have to develop this humility. Now, humility should come naturally from our bhakti, but also developing humility is part of the process of bhakti. And what's my normal experience of life? Anger, irritation, or joy? Am I bathing in burning donkey urine, or am I bathing in the ocean of love at the feet of Gandharvika Giridhari? Do I feel peaceful or do I feel frustrated? What's my general experience? And this tells me very clearly, am I leaning more towards Yudhisthira or Duryodhana? Why are these stories given in the Bhagavatam? I mean, there's many, many reasons, obviously. The deepest reason so we can relish Krishna's Leela here and Krishna's qualities and the devotees' qualities, but also as a guide for us. What do you want to be, this or this? What do you want to be? And we can say, well, I'm just going to go around being angry and envious and chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna will just clean my heart anyway. Well, yeah, okay. But we should also, as Prabhupada writes in the Nectar Devotion, if we don't want to clean our heart, it's not going to work. We have to actually want to develop this humility and to know that if we do so, we'll become joyful. Our life will become joyful, even in the midst of so many difficulties or whatever in life. And then we won't have to be ashamed like Duryodhana when, in spite of his crown and his necklace and his sword and his brothers, he still lifts up his cloth for the land and falls into the water. So thank you very much. Anything good in this class is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas in the Shastra. Any mistakes here are mine. Please take the good, put aside the mistakes. We are, I think, 1 minute over time. Thank you again, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipan Vikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachadi Satarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachadi Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe Jaya, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe Jaya, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe Jaya, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya, 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Jaya Jaya, Gurudev Jaya Jaya, Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Jaya Jaya, Gurudev.
Jai Om Krishna Padma Mahanta Parikshari Satya Sadashri Mahas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Singha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapurnavi Dham Ki Jai. Jagat Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Priya Mridanga Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to Sema devotees. All glories to Sema devotees. All glories to Sema devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Shri Shri Radha Goloka Nanda, who are dancing in the beautiful groves of flowers in Vrindavan. Haribo. Chaito Darpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Gairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarva. Nice birthday present. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Anuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Amanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kribhayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajachim Vachintaya Nayanam Galadashu Daraya Vadanam Gad Gurudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Ninishena Chakshusha Bravashayatam Shrinayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahiname Ashlishyava Padamridamanastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatadava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord,